I'm
You
hearing, yeah,
have to shut the volume off on your computer.
I did.
Is it working?
No,
Oh, oh, geez, sorry. This is
but
no
it's
way to
okay.
end the week.
This is so good. This is so good. So perfect. All right. Yeah, no, it's really great to be on the show. And so my name is Delia, as Diane said, and I am from Trinidad. So that's also fantastic. Diane, you tell me if it's not coming through clearly.
Nope, you're fine so far.
Okay, fantastic. So what could I start off with?
Okay, well, I kind of already blew my first of the five questions with where are you from and where do you live now? Um,
That's it.
but what I'd like to know is how did you end up in the Netherlands from Trinidad?
Right. Yeah, you know what? It's not usual to have a Trinidadian on in the Netherlands. You know, we usually go to the UK. So what I did was after I was working, I always wanted to travel and explore. So I thought I would start off through the UK, which is what I did. And then after that, I thought I didn't want to go back into corporate life. I wanted to make an impact, and I want to do that through education. And so I thought I'd start on the journey of getting my PhD, and I was in the area of humanitarian logistics because I felt that was a good topic as well to make a difference. And
Yeah.
so I went over to the Netherlands to do my PhD in humanitarian logistics or humanitarian aid.
Okay.
And that's what brought me to the Netherlands.
Okay. How long you have there? How long have you been living there right now?
Let's see, 2008. So what is that?
Right.
That
That's
was
14
14 years
years.
this
Wow.
year.
Time flies.
It does indeed.
So tell me, Delia, what are you doing other than all the other great stuff that you're doing? What are you doing right now that's interesting?
Oh, well, you know, it's really funny that you say all the great stuff. I'm like, what great stuff do I do? It
Come on,
doesn't
we just
feel
read
like
your bio. It's amazing.
it looks good on paper. What do I do? So I have two areas that I really want to develop in, and I realized I had been kind of on the edge of it, but you really want to get more into it. So one of my things is about working with people and trying to empower young people. And so part of that is also, well, I think it also answers a next potential question, but my motivation is about what do I give my kids? Because I have two 9-year-olds. And so that kind of combined. So what am I working on? I really want to spend my time empowering young people, which means looking at the way they think. Because, you know, particularly with this corona situation, you know, we finish and the 19-year-olds, 20-year-olds, 21-year-olds think like, oh, this situation has been so bad and now I have no job to go to.
Right.
And I think, hang on, if we think, if we teach and people feel that they have nothing to go to, then we haven't done very well. All right. I want people to feel empowered. I want people to feel that they do have choices, they do have options, and with that, they have freedom. So, one of the things, as you know, is that I'm working on a program to teach young people how to open their own business. But I think that's one aspect. It's about, it's centered around people, but it's about your thinking process. It's about your belief system. It's about how you believe. It's about how you actually convert and change your life. It's about financial awareness. So
Yeah.
those are the areas that I'm interested in and developing. It kind of falls in line with me being a lecturer at a University of Applied Sciences because I'm working with that age group of 19 to 24 years old. But that's one of the areas that I'm in and I want to get deeper in.
Here's a question because I'm going to go off script for a bit because you brought up your kids and COVID and the work that you're doing. I'm actually curious what you've seen or experienced with young kids going through COVID because it seems to me that it's a critical there's critical ages where kids develop and
Yeah.
you know the COVID really set that off kilter. It'll be interesting to see how you know some of these kids get when they get older. Are they going to just want to stay home all the time? because that's what they grew up with. But I don't know if you're seeing anything different that's going to impact them as they get older.
Well, it's kind of hard to say because it's been a range of responses. You have the kids who um, became really deprived because they, in some countries, because they don't have computers, or even if they do, their parents can't stop to work with them. One of the and you have those who gained from Corona. All right, you have those like I say with my kids, we found a new group. They have new opportunities. It was tough, but they got new opportunities
Right.
because of it. Because we had to change the way we did certain things. So it's kind of hard to say. One of the things those people say is that these kids have never been sick.
Right.
They have never had a cold because they've not been outside for 2 years.
Yeah.
All right. So in terms of their response to the natural environment and colds and viruses we'll see besides corona, one of the things we saw when I went home to Trinidad some weeks ago, the schools there were literally closed for 2 years. And so they're now bringing them back out. And one of the things is that they're saying is that the kids have to learn how to re-socialize. And so there are a lot of fights in school because the kids have not been in an area with a whole group of kids again.
Right. Right.
So they need to learn that over.
Yeah.
Another thing, for example, we saw some little friends of ours, and my son was playing with one, and he go, and they got so afraid. They have not. They were like 4 years old. They have actually not been outside because when this happened, they were
Right.
babies, and now they're not allowed to go to school. And so my son goes like, I'm coming for you, I'm the monster, and they were scared.
Right.
Right now, that can work out. They're
Yeah.
only 4 or 5 years old. But longer terms, I don't know the impact, but you do see some of these things happening.
Right. Right. I get to those younger kids. It's I'm laughing because it's kind of funny to us, but it was probably terrifying to them because they've never experienced anything like that before. But I mean, them even uh, going to kindergarten and into grammar school,
Yeah,
their
absolutely.
experience is going to be a lot different, I'd assume.
Yeah, yeah,
So,
definitely. Yeah,
um,
definitely. And I think the young kids, they'll adjust and they'll get into a flow. But in terms of what can be the longer term impact, I haven't done research on that as yet myself. But you have the social impact, those who excelled and those who fell behind, and those who never had a cold in their life. So how are they going to make out?
right,
Yeah,
right.
things like that.
Now it'll be interesting to see. So, how did you what led you into doing what you're doing, and what drove you to get to where you are?
Which question is it? Is it in terms of my job or in terms of the interest in young people?
Whatever you want to discuss.
um, I think I forget this, but I think one of the things is that I wanted to make a difference. And I thought that, and I wanted to make a difference in people's lives. So I do tend over the years to always give to charities and give talks and be a peer counselor and help student development. I tend to do that, but I forget.
Right.
And so that's one of the things I wanted to make a difference. But I think when you get into the process of living, you forget that that was your original dream.
Right. Right.
So if we think about what started me off in doing what I'm doing, I wanted something to be of value. I mean, before I was in organization, as I said, I was an engineering manager in a company, production manager. You had company cars and you had business slash travel. This is over 20 years ago. But I'm like, we're not making a difference,
Right.
you
Yeah.
know. And I'm getting up at 5:30 every morning. I'm getting back home at 7:30 every night. But okay, who am I adding value to?
Right. Yeah, I know. I've been there too because um, when I was doing M&A work as an attorney, I rationalized it. One, the money is nice, but two, because I was like, okay, at least I'm making one small dent into private equity firms and mergers and acquisitions and stuff not being quite as bad as they could be. I'm making one small notch. And then I was like, you're just lying to yourself because of the money, because they're just doing what they want to do anyway. And then if it blows up, they have the money to fix it. It wasn't, I'm not saying that there's no value in it, but there was no,
absolutely.
for me, it was not providing the value that was feeding my soul.
Right.
So,
Yeah, absolutely.
so that's why we're here today doing this. So my next question is, who do you admire and why?
Oh my gosh. Yeah, it's kind of, I think, you know what? I think it's not probably ever just one person,
Right.
right?
It's like asking what's your favorite song. It's an
Yeah,
impossible question to answer. But
it is indeed.
it always goes somewhere kind of cool. So,
Yeah. So right now, if we talk about role models, um, so I have it in my family and people I work and people I live with and socialize with, but I'm going to put them aside for the moment.
Okay.
All right. You know what? I have these super fantastic parents, who really provided, really took care and tried to be part of our lives. They gave us the background. They were, okay, I end up talking about them, but I also want to talk about others. So when you look at, take for instance, my parents, and you look at where they started,
Right.
meaning what their parents gave them, you know what they what they had was their ambition, and they became teachers. They became
Right.
lecturers. They met at school, but they made a big step for our family. If you think they came from a time that probably they didn't have toilets in the house, for example, or
Right.
their parents lost the house, for example,
Right.
right? But they made steps and they gave us stability. They gave us a future. They gave us a plan.
Right.
And so they've made a really big step. My father became, he was so interested in the Boy Scouts all around the world. So his life was that. And then he got a national award for that
Right.
from our president, for his service and his work. My mother was a school vice principal. And so you look at their consistency, their persistence, their contribution, and the way they train. And we still pass that on to our kids. And that dedication. So that's been really a serious thing. And I speak to them almost every day. And so what I want to do is continue that story, not necessarily in the way of education, even though I went to do my PhD, but continue that story in the way of growth, mindset, and business. All right. So you see the progression of your family, not just immediately, but along the line for generations. So that's one thing. To continue that and to come to be inspired, I look at people like Lisa Nichols and Les Brown. I can call others like Eric Thomas and Robin Banks, I think, and Sherry Ellison. They're so charismatic and they take their normal situations or sometimes situations that they were worse off than me, and they've created a whole new life, a whole new meaning, and make a huge contribution, not to themselves alone, but to people.
Right.
So when I think of those who I love to listen to and be inspired by, those are some of the names that I call in
Right.
their ability to connect with others, in their ability to influence others, in the ability to speak with passion and to change their lives, and in so doing, hopefully inspire and change the lives of others.
Right.
That's the kind of thing that um, I'd really like to get more into, to get into.
Yeah, that's great. I'm going to pause for 1 second because I'm getting a comment, and I just want to give a shout out to Jill Cox Cordova for pointing out we're getting feedback. I don't know. I'm not hearing it on my side, so I'm not sure how bad it is for the folks who are listening. But we'll do our best to get it fixed. Like we said, we started, almost 15 minutes late because there was like huge technology hurdles to get over.
Right.
So we'll see. I mean, we'll see what happens. So I think maybe I know with Fireside, if you're using headphones, sometimes that messes it up. So I try to just do it on speakerphone.
Right.
So I don't know if. Um,
Yeah, I'm using the headphones now, and it probably is the headphones because I took off the other link,
right.
and it would be the headphones.
Yeah. Well, I mean, let's continue and give it a go, and we'll see. And I, we apologize for, if anybody's eardrums are getting burst out, and we'll try to do better for the next time for sure. So
Yeah, we'll do another session again. Maybe it's all good.
yeah, yeah, no worries. So all right, so let's go on to like other people you admire.
So when you say so
You
it is
started
the
with your
headphones,
parents, and then you said that there was other. I don't know
right?
if there's other people that you wanted to talk about, or
Yeah. Hang on, let me see if I can. I do get what they're saying about the headphones. Let me see if I can walk away for a minute.
yeah. So it's funny because if somebody asked me who I admired, again, it would be like my favorite song, and I'm like, okay, what genre
Yeah.
of person are you talking about, and in what sense? There can't be just one person. Um,
Yeah.
it's not the Highlander, so it's
No,
a
definitely.
it's a tough one though, and
Yeah. So the ones that really admire and that captivate me, it's like the speakers like Lisa Nichols
right. I
and
love her. God, she's
oh
so
my
awesome.
gosh, yeah.
She's
People
amazing.
like sorry, she's amazing.
Yeah,
And then you have Les Brown. I think he's amazing.
yeah,
I think Eric Thomas, who we just saw. I think they really speak to your soul.
yeah. They do. It's funny because I'll bounce back to Lisa Nichols, and I watch her, and I'm like, I'm so in awe of her confidence and her
Yeah.
assertiveness and her raw honesty, but putting it in a way in which motivates people.
Yeah.
I mean, she could probably rally anybody to do anything. And what I see in her is it makes me curious. It makes me curious how somebody like Lisa Nichols goes out and does that and has that confidence. And then there's other people who have the drive to do it, but they stop short. They stop themselves short, and I don't know if it's, and we'll bring it back to kids that there's something when I think there's something that when you grow up, uh, if you're in an environment where there's certain things nurtured but other things aren't, you have more of the courage to continue to forge ahead.
Hmm.
Whereas, and also as you get older, I think you forget that courage as well. So when you try to make life changes when you start getting older, but life changes in general, or really, really going for what you're passionate about and what you want, like really what you want, not what you think you have to do or what you need to do to get the bills paid, or but really what you want, like what holds people back. And Lisa Nichols, I'm sure there's things she's held back. I'm not going to make believe I think that she's perfect because I'm sure she has her own stuff, um, but she went for it, So it's a curiosity. Like I don't know if you have any thoughts on this. I'm just kind of babbling at this point, but it does make me. There's like a switch somewhere inside people that either turns on and says, "Nope, stop! You can't do it. You're not good enough. Somebody else is already doing it." There's all those little voices, the self-sabotaging voices. And then there's other people that the switch is on all the time, and they hear the voice and they're like, "Yeah, I don't need you. I'm just going to
Yeah.
keep going for it." So I don't know if you have any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I hope you hear me clearly, but I definitely agree. I think it's that ability to go beyond your fear or your circumstances and to recreate yourself. And I think that they're able to do that. They have done that. And I
Yeah.
think it's really weird. And you have to say, as we got older, some of us forgot what we could do. Some of us forgot what we aspired to do. And we weren't necessarily taught that you could follow your dream.
Right.
You have to go get a job. And it's not a bad thing. But if you wanted to be a dancer or a painter, you're better off being an engineer.
Yeah.
And so I like the fact that they were able to go beyond that. Some of them were told they will never do well, and the same with skiing. They will never do well in school, or they will never amount to anything.
Right.
Um, and yet they went further on.
Yeah.
So I really admire that and their ability to inspire and create momentum.
Yeah. I think when you're with your goal with the kids, do you I guess this is in the forefront of your mind, is how do you get them, young, which sounds terrible. It's like, how do you brainwash them when they're young? How do you how do you get them when they're young to realize the dreams, like understand
Yeah,
how to realize their dreams, and their dreams could be, there are people who have dreams of, I want to be a gardener, or I want to be a rocket scientist, or I want to travel the world. The dreams that people have, especially kids, are amazing.
yeah,
And it would be fantastic if we could figure out some kind of way to get to them while the dreams are still there, before they've gotten
absolutely.
crossed with the reality they live in, and help them understand how to facilitate the mechanisms to go forward and just grab the brass ring and go for it.
Yeah, absolutely. And the question is sometimes, how do we do that when sometimes we haven't done that for ourselves,
Right.
right? Um, but yeah, how do you hold on to your dream and make it work? And what does it take to make it work?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. No, that I think lies the question. And, although it's interesting that you said, how do we do it if we didn't do it ourselves? But, I think you are doing it, you know?
yeah.
It always
You're doing
takes
part of
longer
it.
than you want it to, but I think you're doing it.
It takes longer. You know what? I had this book of dreams that I pulled out, a book of quotes the other day, and I pulled it out, and my kids were like, "You didn't get this, you didn't get that, you didn't get that." And my son woke up the other day, and he was actually in tears. I'm like, "Why are you crying?" He's like, "You didn't get so many of your dreams." And I said, "Well, you were in that book. You were one of those dreams, and I got you, and I got most of them. Some of them I didn't get.
Right.
Um,
But there's time,
yeah." Yeah,
right?
and there's time, and now it's like, well, okay, now we need to be more consistent. But it's just made me think to myself, okay, now
Yeah.
some of
Yeah.
these things gotta be more aggressive to get them out.
um, so we have about, I've pushed it from 12:15 to 1:15. To 12:45. So, um, what what do you think the world could use more of right now?
For me, it's I think it's more that thing of belief, and not it's not necessarily religious belief, but believing that we can create the lives that we want. I think we need to stop following the status quo.
Right.
We need to stop following in line and give more opportunities to say that you can create the life that you want. Even if it's something simple. I just want to be I just want to have I don't know, a little shop. I don't know, but that you can create the life that you want, and that comes from, I think, a deep down belief and a deep down process of understanding and self discovery and the whole system working together.
Yeah.
So what does it need? I think we need more. We need to be teaching and encouraging more belief in self. So, for example, um, like they've already tell my kids in school, you could only be one thing in your life. I'm like, stop that, that's not true. So he's like, I can only be one thing. I'm like, no, it's not true. And so when I say the system, you get it from different parts. They come home and it's like, mommy, this one said I could never be a leader.
Right.
And so when I say the system, you have so many things coming in you that tells you you can't, you can't, you can't. And sometimes even at home, you talk too much and whatever.
Yeah.
And so that belief in self and that belief in goodness and that belief in that we can make a difference without always competing against each other and fighting each other,
Right.
kind of thing.
Yeah. It's funny. And I don't know who posted it, because once my LinkedIn starts scrolling, I lose posts and I can't get back to them.
Mm-hmm.
It's a technological challenge that I probably individually have, and other people have aced LinkedIn like there's no tomorrow. But there was a story in there about this little girl, and she was blonde hair, blue eyed, a little white girl, and she was about 2.5 years old, and her parents told her that if she used, they were toilet training her, and they told her if you used the potty for a week, they would get her a gift, and she did.
Mm-hmm.
So they brought her to Target, and they said you can pick out anything you want. And she went to the shelves and she picked out a doll, and she went to the cash register. And the woman at the cash register asked her, "Are you going to a birthday party?" And she said, "No." And she said, "Are you sure this is the doll you want?" And she said, "Yeah." The doll
Mm-hmm.
happened to be a black female doctor doll.
Right.
And so the cash register, and the father's fuming at these questions and is ready to interject. And the little girl said, but she's not like you. And she looked at her and said, the little girl said, "Yes, she is. She's pretty. I'm pretty. She's
Yeah.
smart, and she's a doctor. I'm a doctor.
Yeah.
And she wants to help people, and I want to help people. So we're exactly alike." And I read the story and I was like, touche to the 2.5-year-old for having more
Yeah.
wisdom about the human race than most of us as adults do.
Yeah.
Uh,
Absolutely.
but it goes to show like how people, just as, and I'm sure the woman at the cash register didn't mean anything, but there's a level of, I would use the word ignorance, but it sounds negative. So I'm going to
Mm-hmm.
say there's a level of laziness or lack of curiosity about how different people live that causes us to be able to stay in our little buckets, our little worlds, and then influence the kids to do the same thing because it's safer, quote
Yeah.
unquote safer.
Yeah. 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 And so by the time they get older, you have all of these things coming in. And even as parents reach, to the kids, and then you need to reconstruct that. Now you need to take out so many things and put back in this thing of, hey, I'm worthy, or I can do this, or this is what I want to do, or this is how I want to be, or this is
Right.
the contribution that I need to make.
Yeah,
Um,
exactly.
yeah,
Exactly. It's a big task, but I think I think it's necessary for people like you to go out and start, to make a difference in younger people's lives so that we can maybe not have to try to fix
yeah.
everything when they get older,
Well, this is the thing. When I'm at the university, and I said, we might say, okay, students are not participating or they're not motivated. And I said, guys, okay, fine, but these guys are already 20. The work needs to happen at the primary
Right.
school. I'm not saying we don't have a responsibility to go to university, but
Right.
I'm like, it's in our homes from the time these kids are small. That's
Right.
my reflection. You know, and everybody looks at me like, I don't think she knows what she's talking about. But I really
No,
believe that
I
it
think
is
you're dead
from the
on.
early.
You're right on the mark there, I think. I don't know.
I think so.
Yeah. So
Um, so
so
yeah.
with that, we're at time, and to respect everybody's time, I don't want to go too over. Is there anything else you'd like to wrap up? Anything you want anybody to know about you, or any advice you want to give to anybody before we
Um,
wrap?
I'm not sure about advice, but I do want to say thank you for this session and thank you for everybody listening in. I'm sorry we had such a late start. Maybe we come on and do another session. Um, but yeah, I mean, one of the things, as I said, I'm really interested in or want to be even more passionate about is looking at the development of kids and young people. In terms of my program right now, it's just more about, building your own business, but inside of there's the mindset. And just that, we just look at the things we do, the things we say to each other, how we encourage or discourage each other when we talk about mindset and creating a stronger future for ourselves, our families, and generations later.
Right.
So let's, keep a focus on how we do that and how we talk to each other, and particularly the kids.
Right. Yeah, my mother grew. I mean, she had all these wonderful, cliche catchphrases, as I'm sure everybody's mother does. And she
Yeah,
used to say, "When you point your finger at somebody, three point back at you." So before you judge somebody else, make sure um, that it's a judgment that you're comfortable with, and that you have to own yourself because it's likely
yeah,
inside of you.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I know that one as well.
Yeah. All right. Well, thank you, Delia, for coming, and thanks for getting over the technical issues to be here. I really appreciate the efforts, and it's under tension, high pressure tech support.
Thank you
Um,
so much.
and I just
And
want to
thank you
let
to Yanni. We have to mention Yanni for setting this all up. Thank you. And thank you, Diane, and
yeah,
everybody who made this happen.
yeah, and we're gonna do this every week for Women's History Month. Is for women. There's already last week's was Yanni. This week is you, and then there's two more fabulous women coming up in the next 2 weeks for Women's
Okay.
History Month every week, Friday at 12 o'clock. So tune in, and thank you for your patience.